The step-parenting space in this society is surrounded by a huge black cloud. There's so many negative stereotypes around being a step-parent, especially a stepdad, that they're just temporary, they're not going to be there forever, or worse yet, it's not my biological kid, so I don't really care, right? But the reality is that step-parent will play a huge role in that child developmentally speaking. If we don't start stepping up for step-parents, we're not only going to affect the step-parent themselves, we're also going to affect the stepchild they're supposed to love and to lead. I'm Andrew Russell, founder of DadderUp, and I'm on a mission to promote and celebrate what it means to be a dad. Over 16% of kids are actually right now in blended families, and I actually grew up in a blended family. So my stepdad, he came into our life a handful of decades ago when I was in my early teens, and he did the thing. He really dove in head first, and at that point there was really groups to lean into. There were no books, all that many books to read. He kind of just figured it out on his own, but he showed up to everything. He was super present. He provided for us, and he was there for us emotionally. And the whole time, over the next several years, I felt like there was something wrong with the whole step parenting space. He was always introducing me and my brother as like, oh, these are my boys. They're my step kids, my stepsons. And there was just something about introducing as step. I don't know if it was society or just whatever it was at the time. It just felt like there was a little bit of a black cloud over us being his stepkid. So during one of the holidays, I think it was specifically Easter, I just remember always this Hallmark CD that was played, super sad music. I wrote something that I actually read to the family and said, listen, I'm sick of calling you by your first name. I want to call you Pop. I made up the name Pop. And I said, you deserve so much more respect. You command so much more respect and deserve so much more from your stepkids than just calling you by your first name. Now, granted, it didn't stick. But, a handful of decades ago, even then, I had a passion around the step parenting space, just being someone that's just very, attentive, and I'm just always watching and observing. I just realized not only did my step parent or my stepdad at the time, I also had a stepmom. Plenty of my friends, their parents started getting divorced and they started to get step parents. I just thought it was just the whole thing surrounding the step parenting space. There's just so much negativity involved. And at that time, I was passionate about it. And then fast forward to now, to DadderUp, we're redefining what it means to be a step parent. We're actually calling stepdads flex dads because it's time we start celebrating the step parenting space and eliminate this whole black cloud surrounding it. So based on my upbringing with my stepdad, how he stepped up, no pun intended, and all the conversations I've had with all the leaders in the fatherhood space and what they say step parents and stepdads have to do, here are three things, three truths that all step parents should understand and embrace. The first truth is very generic, but it's super important, is check your ego at the door. And what do I mean by that? Guess what, guys? Being a stepdad, or what we call a flex dad, is really difficult. Even if we redefine what it means to be a step parent, and step parents or flex dads, which is what we're calling it, are now celebrated, it doesn't mean that it's not going to be hard. Because if you think about it, you're meeting this child at a point in their life where their parents are probably no longer together naturally because of the whole dynamic of the step piece. They probably didn't grow up and say, hey, at 6 or 8 years old, I want my parents to get a divorce. Children don't typically choose this for their parents. So you're meeting them at a time there's a little bit of emotional volatility. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. It's just one of those things that it's going to be difficult. You're kind of hopping into the game very late. You don't have all those years, 365 days a year, times that by 8. That's the mom say had all that time with the kid. Now you were just hopping in and you just have to kind of build that relationship. So the best thing to do is take a deep breath and just understand you have to check your ego at the door, because things are going to happen. Things are going to be said. You're going to have struggles. You're going to have difficulties, and it's hard. It is very, very hard to be a flex dad, aka a stepdad, but it is one of the most rewarding things. It's a huge opportunity to build a relationship with an amazing child who's now going to look up to you, and hopefully you're going to be their idol and you get to love on them. But just by checking your ego at the door, you don't come in with any type of assumptions, expectations, just that you're going to do your best. And every single day you're going to show up and do your best. But just remember, it's progress, not perfection. Leave that ego at the door. The second thing is lead with love. But before we get into the love, make sure, guys, that you hop in the description, click the link. We at DadderUp, we believe in the dad identity. So it's basically your identity as a dad. Because guess what? Dads, stepdads, flex dads, right? That's what we're calling it. You can never outperform your identity as a dad. So we in DadderUp, we work on your dad identity. So hop in the description, click the link, and take our free 7-question dad identity quiz. It'll take about a minute or so to complete. And once you're done, we're actually going to customize a 7-day dad identity level up challenge plan just for you. And we have found if you do this over 7 days, that all the stepdads or the flex dads that are doing this have reported more patience, better bonding already within a week, just better connecting. So make sure you take the 7-question quiz, which is then going to give us the opportunity to send you the free 7-day challenge. It's amazing when you start focusing on your dad identity, especially in your step parenting space. So make sure, guys, you go in the description, click the link, and take that free quiz. It's going to kick off hopping into the dad identity level up challenge. The second truth is lead with love. If you lead with love and you lead with your heart, it's going to give you the best chance to kind of get ahead of the relationship and make sure you set yourself up for success with that specific child as their flex dad or as their step parent. So when you lead with love, again, number one was knowing it's going to be really hard and check your ego at the door. Number two, it's just how are you going to show up? Are you going to show up and you're going to come home and you're going to have that child, your stepchild, and you're going to talk to them? Are you going to treat them a certain way? Are you going to have in the back of your mind that they're not your biological kid? All the negativity and the stereotypes and all the black clouds. No, you're going to eliminate all that stuff because you are now a flex dad. Flex dads, when you show up, you have to lead with love, and it's not going to be easy. What does love have? Love is patient, love is kind, right? All those cool things that I'm sure you've heard. So with patience with kids, it's a difficult process. It takes work. It's going to be hard. But when you show up with love, you don't show up impatient or frustrated or, almost like you don't care or indifferent to what goes on. The children can sense that, especially, if step parents are coming into the lives of step kids a little bit later in the developmental process, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12-ish. Kids are smart. Kids are very, keen and in tune with what's going on with their environment, especially with someone new in their house, someone new with their actual biological parents. So if you just take deep breaths and you lead with love, and no matter what happens, whether it's a good day, a bad day, the child says something that they shouldn't have, you just have to understand the backstory and really empathize. If you were in the shoes of that child yourself, how would you feel? What would you say? Would you mean some of the things that are being said? So the biggest thing for the second piece, the second truth, without a doubt, it's one thing to check your ego at the door, guys. Another thing, just got to show up and be, if you were that child and you were in that situation, how would you want you to show up? That's exactly how you have to show up. You have to show up, a man of purpose and a man full of love. The third truth, stepdads, what we call flex dads, you got to do the thing. What's the thing? Kid has a basketball game. Guess what? Go to it. Kid has a football game. Like my stepdad, he didn't know a whole lot about football. He showed up. He made a joke to punt the ball on third down, which is pretty brutal. My friends were poking fun of me for him saying that, but he did the thing. He showed up. Do the breakfast with them in the morning. Drive them to school. Be present. Be attentive and present, not just on your phone. Just what we talk about all the time in DadderUp. If they have something for school or if they have a bad day, right? If they're not coming home in the best headspace, whether it's the good or the bad, don't just be there for the celebrations, be there to help them on those days. But if you show up and you're there and you're present and you work at it, that's the good stuff. That's how you build a relationship. So just understanding you're coming into their life very late. When you're coming into their life late, you have a lot of time to kind of make up to build that relationship. It's an amazing thing. You want to build a relationship with a child, but with that said, you're going to have to do the thing. What does the thing mean? You have to put in the work. You don't just go out and now you're potentially financially providing for the kids and for their parent. And maybe you're paying some of the bills or, you're doing various things for them. You have to actually start doing the thing. What's the thing mean? You do the parenting thing. What's the parenting thing mean? You start doing the events, helping them with the homework, whatever it is, you hyper focus on that parent role. And that's what we call doing the thing. When you do that, you're going to experience better connection. You're going to experience a bond. And that over time will yield massive results. Those are the 3 truths that I saw with my upbringing, with my stepfather, but also with other stepdads and with all the research that's being done about being a stepdad or a stepparent, what we call a flex dad. But just make sure, guys, you're in the description and click the link and take our free 7-question dad identity quiz. It's going to take about a minute to complete. But again, this is going to give you the opportunity. We're going to make a custom 7-day dad identity level up challenge for you because this is something that's so important. Sometimes stepdads or what we call flex dads kind of get in a rut and there's things that are happening, with your stepkids and you really wish you could do a better job with them or had a closer relationship or whatever it is. But time goes very fast and you get caught up with work, your relationship with their parent, your own health journey, whatever it is, whatever you're into. But just make sure, guys, you take that quiz so we can give you the custom dad identity level up challenge. Again, all the stepdads that have done this have reported more connection, more patience, and a better relationship with their stepkids. So take the free quiz. All right, so we just went over all the external realities of being a stepdad or what we call a flex dad, right? all the misinformation, the black cloud, which really isn't fair, all the stereotyping. And then we're like, you know what? How are you successful as a step parent? How do you step up as a flex dad? You check your ego at the door, you lead with love, and you do the thing. But this is all the external reality stuff. So make sure you watch our next video, The Truth of Being a Stepdad, where we talk about all the internal realities, all the hidden stuff that's not discussed. Make sure you watch our next video.